Here are your hosts for Sports Talk, Phil Kornbluth, Kevin McCrary, and Tom Hayes.
Everybody talks unbalanced schedule and all those things, but we were 10-8, seventh seed in the tournament, actually tied for sixth, with Virginia Tech. So I certainly think we're tournament worthy.
I'm excited for where our program's at. I'm disappointed for yesterday. I'm disappointed, like I said last night, for our players and our fans. But I'm excited for where we're at.
March sadness over at USC yesterday. Go figure. Go figure. I had a feeling when they announced a few days in advance of the SEC tournament that they were going to have a viewing party for the NCAA tournament. I'm telling you, honest to God, my first thought was jinx. Oops, don't do that. Don't do that. But, Frank Martin, even after losing to Georgia, thought they were in. And their players thought they were in. It wasn't until the leaked bracket and knowledge of that and what was on the other half of the bracket that had not been on television made it to Frank Martin did he realize that a team that won 23 games against Division I opponents, finished third in the SEC and won 11 SEC games, and beat the league's co-champion on the road was going to be left at home for the NCAA tournament. I don't know. I said Friday night after they lost, or I said if they were going to lose, if they do lose, I didn't know if they'd be in or out. I knew that it would leave them open to a lot of discussion, and that's what you didn't want. Win Friday night, no question about being in. Lose, and you're going to be susceptible to the opinions of the committee, which I think there should be an investigation of this committee. I mean, I would like to think the NCAA basketball tournament committee is above board, but they were very NASCAR-ish on Sunday with some of their decisions. And even somebody as little as me, when it comes to the NCAA tournament, the big people, Lenardi and those guys, dropped the hammer on the committee. And on top of that, the selection show yesterday was just abysmal.
And then it leaked. I mean, it was just a train wreck across the board. Not a banner day for the NCAA. And there's always controversy. And I like the controversy about teams that should get in and shouldn't. I think that's what makes the tournament great. And there will always be that discussion. But this year, it was goofy. I mean, South Carolina getting left out, by Sunday morning, it looked like that was going to happen. I think most people kind of realized that South Carolina wasn't going to be in. But we thought Monmouth would be in, or Valpo. I never would have expected if they said Syracuse gets in and Tulsa. I'm like, okay, well South Carolina's going to be in.
I will say this. As the brackets were moving, and I saw that Vandy and Tulsa was in, I said, well, South Carolina has to be in the last bracket. Until you start seeing things moving and moving, you said.
I was at the thing yesterday, and as soon as Vanderbilt popped up, everybody in that room knew South Carolina was dead, because that was 3 SEC teams right there, and everybody knew they weren't getting 4. Some thought they were only getting 2, and if they were going to get a third, it would be USC. When Vandy popped up on the line, that's when everybody knew. We got a lot to talk about. We'll get to it in a moment. An incredibly busy edition of Sports Talk for you tonight, and we'd love to get your thoughts on what transpired over the weekend. If you care enough about basketball, that's part of the problem in our state. We don't care enough about basketball to be really pissed off about it. If this had happened in football, I think, if it happened to the Gamecocks, Columbia would be burning. If it happened to Clemson, Anderson, Greenville, and Clemson would be burning. So do you have the passion to care about basketball? 800-956-7266. Women's bracket will be announced at 7 o'clock tonight. Of course, the USC women will be a number 1 seed and will host the first 2 games in their region.
I don't know. That one loss may hurt them. I mean, the committee may say, hold it.
I didn't say they'd be the number 1 seed. They'll be a number 1 seed. Let me just say this about the Gamecocks, too. I mean, they got no one to blame but themselves, because they had 2 double-digit leads. They had a double-digit lead in the second half. They even had the ball last in their best players' hands. And for some reason, Sindarius Thornwell thought they were losing. And when he lost the ball, he immediately fouled, which, of course, sent J.J. They need to make sure J.J. Frazier turns pro earlier or do something. He needs to move on because
he's good at basketball.
Well,
he kills the game.
The interesting thing about that game, the referee who called the foul late for Ty Johnson last year was the same referee that called the foul on Sindarius.
Really?
The same.
You pay way too close attention to remember that. Today, Will Muschamp, on a brighter note for Gamecock fans, we know who the third string left offensive tackle is. I know that's big to you. They put out their preseason depth chart, and he talked about the beginning of spring practice, which is tomorrow, and we'll bring that to you coming up here at the bottom of the hour. Frank Martin talked today as well. He tried to put on a good face. It's tough. He said it still burns him, but he hopes his team will be focused and ready to play tomorrow night against what would be a very good High Point team, except their 2 best players are out, including John Brown, who people around the Big South will tell you is an NBA player, and he's out. So, they should win if they have any interest in playing the game. And I guess, K-Mac, we should mention Clemson being passed over for the NIT.
Another ripoff.
Yeah, I mean, I made this point last night on Twitter. Clemson, a team that finished with a head-to-head win over Syracuse, finished higher on Syracuse's home court, no less, finished higher than Syracuse in the ACC standings, had a better seed in the ACC tournament. They don't get into the NIT, but Syracuse gets into the NCAA tournament. And I didn't make that point to say Clemson should have been in the big dance, but it is a little goofy. I mean, Georgia Tech got in, Florida State got in. Again, 2 teams that finished behind Clemson in the ACC standings. So I don't know. That one was a little bit of a head scratcher. And Brad Brownell thought they had a good chance to get in.
And Clemson has the arena in Greenville available, and one of the top college basketball players in the country in Gerard Blossom game, and they're an ACC team, and you don't let them in. 10
ACC teams got into postseason play, and Clemson, which won 10 ACC games.
When's the last time a 10-win ACC team had no postseason?
I'm going to say
I bet you that never happened either. I mean, I think Clemson and South Carolina made history this year. I'm going to look this up and see if I can find an ACC team that had 10 wins in conference that did not make a postseason tournament that was eligible.
Look that up. That'd be a good thing to look up. I'm going to say this about the conspiracy theory that I have. I believe Syracuse got in because of its name, its Hall of Fame coach, and its television market.
Exactly.
This gets them the New York market. If you're sitting there on the committee and you're thinking, okay, Syracuse or South Carolina or Valpo or Monmouth, even though these teams have maybe better resumes and better body of work, you're still talking blue blood basketball. And that's a shame. That's what the committee did, in my opinion, there. Also, what does it say? And you made this point of teams that got in. You got Syracuse coming off probation, a coach that had to sit out 9 games for really bad violations. All right. You got Tulsa going in with a coach who's been sanctioned,
who blew up the program in Columbia, Missouri.
Absolutely, who's been sanctioned. You take them And what was the other one that you mentioned?
And I said you have a #1 seed that's on academic probation by the Southern Association of Colleges School in UNC.
That's right. That's okay. Don't give me the crap about academics and playing by the rule. We know what matters. We know TV ratings matter and everything else beyond. And of course, what really gets me is in the postseason, in the post-game press conferences now, after all these basketball games, they'll have the coach and the players sitting up there, and they'll have their sponsored bottle of water. You can't, you can't take a bottle of water into the arena that is not one of the sponsors' bottles. And they'll be referring to them as our student athletes. Questions for our student athletes.
And they're charging for the NIT. Students have to pay money to go to the NIT. That seems like highway robbery.
How much?
At South Carolina, they're charging $4.
$4.
At Florida State, apparently it's more. I think the school, they try to absorb some of the cost, but at South Carolina, you're going to have to shell out $4. And I get it, man. People on Twitter last night were saying, oh, it's just $4, big deal. But it's just a whole nickel and dime mentality.
Right.
Oh, it's just $4. Let's shake down the students. I mean, why not let a certain number of students, even if it's 1,000 students, get in free, the rest you pay $4?
Students will have to pay to go to the women's games too, right? I mean, the thing is, those tickets aren't controlled by the schools; they're controlled by the NCAA.
And there should be a certain number of tickets that students are allowed to get for free, in my opinion. The NCAA makes enough money that they could do that. Now, the point was made, well, schools have enough money where they could shell out the cost too. And okay, fair enough, but I still think that the NCAA, that body, should shoulder that responsibility, and certainly the ire of people that, like me, that think that's wrong.
All right, let's take a few phone calls before we get into other things. 800-956-7266. Billy in Greenville, you're up first tonight here on Sports Talk. Good to have you.
Yeah. I think there's one thing. Well, first of all, I want to say, Phil, something you said a couple of years ago, and maybe putting words in your mouth. You remember when everybody was talking about football going to the format of playoff teams?
Yep.
And you were not really 100% in favor of that?
Yep.
Yeah. And I was just saying that, we look at all that stuff, and I know it's just that, but when you start putting in the human element, and, which is very unpredictable, sometimes, it just makes it that much more unpredictable. And I'm just saying, if there's anything that we Gamecocks learned, was that you don't ever want to leave it up to chance. We know that because we really have no tradition and we really don't have pulling power, we don't ever need to put it in people's opinions. And that's, to me, that's the lesson that Gamecock fans should learn in basketball this year.
Well, here's the point, though. You learn the lesson, but until it's almost an impossibility to build a team that's going to be so infallible that there are no stones unturned, because they'll find something. As I've said before, when I look at the committee the last few years, when they bring in a team, they look at the teams, what do they have to offer? What did they do? And if they bring in a Syracuse, they'll bring in a Syracuse and say, well, they beat this team so many times. They beat this team here. They bring a Southeastern Conference school in there, and the questions are leaned toward, where are the things where we can leave that team out? And that's what they lean toward when they look at an SEC school, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Look, every team that got in, last team in, first four out, they've all got warts.
Yes.
They've all got warts. You just have to, it does come down to not necessarily just the facts, ma'am. It does come down to personal opinion, personal grudges, personal favors, and who knows what else is talked about in those discussions behind closed doors. As Billy said, you leave it up to the human element, and it's like going in front of a jury of your peers. It's not something anybody wants to take a chance at. We'll be right back. Okay, we're back. Sports Talk, South Carolina Radio Network. Will Muschamp coming up here in just a few minutes. It is, of course, March Madness. Time to get your brackets in order. K-Mac, we're going to have another Sports Talk bracket challenge contest this year.
Yeah, it's powered by ESPN again because
Boo.
it's free. And if you want to join the group, it is
find
open.
somebody else
You
to
can
power
enter
our
as many
bracket?
times as you want. Just go to the group Palmetto
CBS.
State Sports Talk. Palmetto State Sports Talk. Fill out a bracket or 3. We'll all put ours on there eventually. And we'll see who's the smartest.
Palmetto State
Sports Talk.
Sports
I was
Talk.
going to put South Carolina Sports Talk, but then I thought people would go, wait a minute now, you're favoring the Gamecocks. So I just said Palmetto State.
Was that your impression of a Clemson fan?
No, just general. That's every fan that complains. I read all the hate emails that I get. That's the voice I read them in.
I got you.
K-Mac, what were you talking about? South Carolina should have been in the tournament. That's how I do it.
Back to the phones we go, and it is going to be Mike and Aiken with us next. By the way, Johnny Dawkins fired at Stanford today. Ed Conroy fired at Tulane. TCU fired their coach. And I think that's all we've got
Trent Johnson.
so far.
Trent Johnson, who also was kind of pushed out the door at LSU.
Yeah. Mike, welcome into the program.
Yes. Hey, 2 quick points. If I may. I don't know if you heard this. Tulsa was not even having a viewing party because they just knew they weren't going to make it.
Mhm.
They're not even watching. So that shows that right there. That's a head scratcher how they got in. And the second point, a note to CBS: we don't need 2 hours. That was a terrible show.
Gosh.
And then it was coming out on the internet, the brackets, before they even started putting it out there.
Yeah.
I mean, poorly produced by CBS. We don't need 2 hours. That was a joke. And, I just couldn't believe that it's coming out on the internet and these clowns don't even have it up there yet.
Yeah, somebody should lose their job over that. I mean, in basketball circles, that's the equivalent of leaking the formula of Coca-Cola. I mean, you protect that final bracket with your life. I cannot believe they allowed somebody
They
to put
treated
that
some
out.
intern wrong. They spit their coffee out. Something happened, and somebody said, "I'm going to get these guys."
As far as the broadcast goes, I haven't liked bringing in the TBS crew since they've done it. Not that I don't mind it being broadcast over there, but their studio people are NBA people. And that's who I associate them with. And that's where they spend 90% of their time talking NBA and covering the NBA. Then they take a break to deal with the tournament for 3 weeks. Then they're back to the NBA. There's plenty of college basketball pure blood people that you could put in those seats to talk college basketball. I don't think really, Charles, I love that show on the NBA. I dislike it on the college basketball tournament. That's just my personal preference. I mean, Charles Barkley's a great guy to watch. I don't think he knows anything about these college teams than anybody sitting here at this table knows, except from his own basketball experience as a player. I don't think he studies it that much.
Reggie Miller and Steve Smith are the only two who actually look like they really study college basketball.
Yeah, I've never have liked that marriage since it's been made, but it's going to be with us for years to come because they got a long contract. And I believe the Final Four is going to be on TBS this year.
Mm-hmm. And the first 4 on True TV.
Okay, we're back. Sports Talk, South Carolina Radio Network. Good to be back together with everybody for a while here in our beautiful studios in downtown Columbia. Main Street, Columbia, because Sports Talk is the sports talk show of Main Street, South Carolina. Been talking NCAA tournament, but South Carolina opens spring football practice tomorrow. First one under Will Muschamp. He met with the media today to give a preview. Let's take a listen to Muschamp.
I thought the offseason went really well. I want to compliment Jeff Dillman and his staff and the job they did. Really pleased with, our guys' work ethic throughout the entire offseason. We put them through a very strenuous program. Injury-wise, going into spring on offense, Trey Duran and Jared Washington. Trey obviously had knee surgery and will be out for spring. It leaves us with 9 scholarship offensive linemen, which is not unusual. Really, usually have some bang-ups on the offensive line, and we'll be able to move some guys around and cross-train some guys to some different spots. Jared Washington's still coming off the broken leg, so he'll be very limited as we go into spring. He will be in some non-contact drills, but we're not sure right now, to be honest with you, how much he'll be able to partake. As far as drill work is concerned, defensively, Dante Sawyer will miss spring with a shoulder surgery that he had. But he's doing well off that. Jordan Diggs had shoulder surgery as well. Shamik Blackshear's obviously the situation he's coming through will not go through spring, but his rehab's gone extremely well. And Sky Moore's got a neck strain that our medical staff wanted to hold him out of contact to start spring. They're going to reevaluate that in a couple of weeks. I'll probably, he's a really good football player. He's played a lot of good football here, and I like to where he is knowledge-wise with what we're doing defensively. I may hold him for most of spring or contact from that standpoint, but nothing serious in that situation. I think as you see the depth chart, we're going to release one after the press conference here. I know that's the most important thing to you guys. We got 5 quarterbacks repping. There is no timetable. But you can't rep 5 guys. So we've got to whittle it down very quickly on the guys that can make explosive plays for us and take care of the football. And that's the bottom line. Who can direct our offense and move the ball down the field and score? So we got those 5 guys repping. They're all listed as or because we're going to move guys around. We're really going to try and rep a lot of what we call 2-spot drills where a lot of things are going on and guys are getting turns and reps. And there'll be an offense going versus a defense on one field and an offense going versus a defense with the same script, and we'll be rotating those quarterbacks to get them as many reps as possible. So we got to find one of those guys, 2 of those guys, or 3 of those guys as quickly as possible to move forward with. And I'd love to name a starter after spring, but if we're not ready to do that, we're going to take it through to fall camp. So we'll make those decisions. But those guys understands how critical the reps are for them every time they're out. At running back, David Williams and Rod Talley are listed first and second on the depth chart, but we've got a lot of guys who are going to get opportunities. A.J. Turner's done some nice things. We got a lot of guys that we'll get some looks there at the running back position. At the tight end, Hayden Hurst, Kyle Markway, and Casey Crosby have been 3 guys I've been pleased with seeing them in the all-season program moving around, and looking forward to working with those guys. I think that can be a position of strength for us. At receiver, Debo Samuel and Meltrick Beltner are really the only 2 guys that have played a lot. Terry Guger, I think, has played a little bit, but you'll see that Brian Edwards is listed as a first-team receiver going into our first practice. I've been very pleased with his off-season. He still is a little slowed as far as overuse is concerned with his knee, but he's really come out of it well. But he's a talented young man and certainly deserved of the opportunities created for himself. And the offensive line, again, talked about Trey a little bit earlier, but Mason Zandy at left tackle. Pelage will play both inside and at tackle. Knott, Helms, and Bailey can all play the center position, but Bailey, Knott, and Helms would be inside, and Park and Stanley backing up the 2 guard positions. Blake Camper and Malik Young at right tackle. So again, we'll cross-train those guys at several different spots offensively, but obviously the huge question mark for us is it quarterback and receiver, and having some guys step forward for us there. Defensively, pretty pleased with our experience and our talent level in the front 7. You get a guy like Skies, obviously a good football player, played a lot of good football. T.J. Holloman, a linebacker, Lorenz Bryant, Jonathan Wallace, Walton have done some nice things for us in the all-season program. So Pleased with that. Marcavius Lewis has had a great offseason. Really pleased with his work ethic and how he's gone about his business. And Kelsey Griffin, Abu Laman's done some nice things. Ulrich Jones, Taylor Stallworth, and Kobe Smith will be a little bit limited. Both of them coming off shoulder surgery. They will partake in parts of spring. How much of the contact we'll see as spring goes through it. Darius English and Boosie Whitlow, two guys. You'll see Kier Thomas is listed as a second-team defensive end as a true freshman. A guy that's up to about 255 right now is continuing to grow based on his body. Need to find some answers in the secondary. Not real confident in the safety position based on what we've seen a year ago, but Jordan Diggs won't go through spring, so we've got to find some guys there. Chris Lamons will be a guy that will rep at safety as well as corner and nickel. It needs to be able to be versatile enough to do a lot of those. Rashad Fenton, same light. Corner and nickel. Antoine Waddle will train as the nickel. Rico McWilliams will train some different places as well. Feel really good about our kicking situation. Elliott Fry and Sean Kelly, two guys that are experienced, good players, and Drew Williams is a snapper, is a guy that's a force as far as covering kicks and punt situations. So that's kind of about where we are right now with our football team. Again, strengths probably the front seven defensively of guys that have experience, some talented guys. We don't have a lot of depth, so we can't afford any injuries. And then the offensive line and tight end position offensively. But we got a lot of unknowns heading into spring, but I've been pleased with our work ethic and attitude so far, and looking forward to tomorrow and getting on the field. We have not been on the field with our team with the ball yet, so we have a lot of questions that will be answered over the next 15 practices. I'll open it up for any questions.
Over the first 3 practices, since it will be the first time with the team with the ball, are you more interested in kind of going through some of your objectives, or more kind of setting up what you want from your football team?
Well, I think we've been really clear about setting the expectation of what we see every day at practice and what we want out of our football team. So each day we'll have a point of emphasis of installation, offensively and defensively. We're on the same page about what we want to do, what we're going to do on special teams. And so our players understand the expectation of what we need to get done.
Back here. You kind of elaborated on it, but what would you say is the biggest emphasis for your football team in these next couple of weeks?
Well, I think, the biggest thing in the all-season program we emphasized was ETD, effort, toughness, and discipline, and displaying that every single day on a consistent basis. And I think that now going into spring, physicality has got to be our edge. And I think that in our league, I've been a part of this league a long time. It's a line of scrimmage league. You got a chance if you're good on both sides of the ball up front. That gives you a chance, just a chance. But you got to be able to block them, and when you need to run it and tighten the red zone late in the game, you got to be able to gain first downs, and you got to be able to stop the run defensively. And you got to practice that way. A lot of coaches talk about tough. We're going to be tough. We're going to be physical, but you have to practice that way in order to be able to do it, and that's what we're going to do.
How many practices do you anticipate it will take to whittle the quarterbacks down from 5 to 3? And also, you mentioned Ulrich Jones. Has Jones moved back to defense, considering he played tight end in offense last year?
Jones.
Ulrich Jones?
Yeah, he's on defense. We're going to play him inside. We're going to cross-train he and Abu both at tackle and end defensively. But, again, I don't want to put a timetable on anything, and then we come out of the third practice and you're asking me who's going to be the top 3 guys. I mean, we're going to make those decisions as best we can, and giving those guys every opportunity. The thing we've got to be able to do when we come out of practice X, that of those, 4 or 5 guys, they've gotten the equal amount of reps. That's we got to be fair to those guys in those situations, but also be fair to our football team and understand that we have to make some of these decisions quick, because you can't rep 5 guys. That's the bottom line, and that's what we'll be able to do.
All right, there you go. Will Muschamp, all of it from Muschamp up on our website, sportstalksc.com. But I think we hit the gist of the main news there, the injuries and the fact that he likes his front 7 on defense. He likes his tight ends. He likes his offensive line. He knows he's got to sort out the quarterback situation and develop some wide receivers and improve the secondary. He loves his kicking game.
Mm-hmm.
So, it's sort of a 50-50. There's about
bag.
50% of the team looks pretty good to him, and 50% of the team looks kind of in a rebuilding mode.
Glass half full.
You heard Muschamp mention the Gamecock spring depth chart coming out. We've got that for you. And we're going to give it to you in just a moment after I tell you to hit a home run with Founders Federal Credit Union coming soon to Tigertown. Founders Clemson location will be open soon. And for now, check out the 4 on-campus ATMs. Visit relaxjoinfounders.com to see if you qualify for membership. All right, let's talk about the Gamecock depth chart as it was released today. Keep in mind, as he said, it will change daily because it's wide open for a lot of these guys to earn jobs, keep jobs, lose jobs. So your receivers on one side, Brian Edwards and Christian Owens. Then you have Matrick Belton and Terry Guger. And then you have Debo Samuel and Jalen Christian. Those are the 3 sets of receivers. The left tackle, Mason Zandy and Christian Pellich. The left guard is Zach Bailey and DJ Park. The center is Alan Knott and Corey Helms. The right guard is Corey Helms and Donnell Stanley. The right tackle, Blake Camper and Malik Young. They do have good size on the offensive line. Pretty much all 300-pounders across the board and some pretty good height. Camper's 6'7". Of course, Zandy is 6'9". Pellich is 6'7", so they've got some good size there. The tight end, Hayden Hurst or Kyle Markaway or Kevin Crosby. And your quarterback, Perry Orth or Brandon McElwain or Connor Mitch or Lorenzo Nunez or Michael Scarnecchia. Running back, David Williams, Rod Talley. By the way, somebody asked him about the 5 quarterbacks, and he gave, of course, the routine answer. If you have 5 quarterbacks, you have none. Mm-hmm. So I think he recognizes that they want to get down to
3.
One guy, well, 3, and then eventually one guy. All right, and then on the defensive side, defensive end, Marquavius Lewis and Kier Thomas. Defensive tackle, Kelsey Griffin, Abu Lamine, and Kobe Smith. Defensive tackle, Taylor Stallworth, Ulrich Jones, and Dexter Weidman. The Buck linebacker, or the Buck end, Darius English and Boosie Whitlow. The Sam linebacker, Lawrence Bryant, Daniel Fennell. Mike linebacker, TJ Holloman, Jonathan Walton, and Sherrod Pittman. The Will linebacker, Bryson Allen Williams, and Lawrence Bryant. One corner, Rashad Fenton, Chris Smith. The safety, Jasper Sasser and DJ Smith. The other safety, Toure Boyd, Chaz Elder. The other corner, Rico McWilliams, Chris Lamons. The nickel, Lamons and Antoine Wilder. Place kicker, Elliott Fry and Michael Almond. Punter, Sean Kelly and Joseph Charlton. Long snapper, Drew Williams and Nick McGriff.
And, of course, Sky Moore is not on there because he's a little bit banged up.
Has a neck. He's got a strained neck.
We all have a neck.
Yeah.
Technically speaking.
His is more valuable than all of ours put together. And his is strained. So they're going to keep him out of contact, but he will be able to do some.
And he's going to be a linebacker. They had talked about moving him to safety, but he's a linebacker.
So what do you think of this group? What do you think of the lineup?
Here on March 14th.
On paper.
Pi Day.
Well, just a surprise to me, just because of his height, but I don't know anything about it. But I was surprised to see Darius English at Buck. I thought it was a guy about 6'2", 6'3". Mm-hmm. They could back up into coverage, play some linebacker, and rush the passer. But apparently they like the way he rushes the passer from that angle. And he does have height to tip passes because a lot of times guys go with these 2- and 3-step drops. You're not going to get to them anyway. So you might as well have some height back there to rush the passer.
Really, really worried about that offense. As much as South Carolina has struggled the past 2 seasons, they've been pretty serviceable on offense, but they could take a huge step back. And I say that because they do have 5 quarterbacks, and they don't have any one above the other. And maybe their most talented one is Brandon McElwain, but he has not. I mean, this guy should be at prom right now. Mm-hmm. We don't know what he can do. Perry Orth, I think, is a solid backup, but he's got a very low ceiling. Wide receivers, and Brian Edwards is a talented kid, but he's coming off a major knee injury, and he's number 1 on your depth chart right now. That's
scary.
Yeah, you would like him to, if he's good enough to go out there and win that job in the spring, but he's kind of there by default right now without having taken a really really not running a lot, just trying to rehab that knee. And by virtue of rehabbing his knee, he's now the number one wide receiver at a slot. So that has to concern you when you don't know who your quarterback's going to be and you don't have a lot of guys that are proven pass catchers. Recipe for potential struggles offensively, especially in the Southeastern
So they had
Conference.
better be good on defense and in the kicking game.
But the interesting thing that gets me is a position always underutilized in previous South Carolina's offense. Look like they got some good talent at tight end.
Yep,
now, whether they
do.
use them or not, that's going to be the key.
He cited tight end as one of the strengths of the team. So, yeah, why you should use them if you have them at your disposal. Back with recruiting in a moment.
Do you like?
Okay, let's dive into the recruiting report. Wide receiver Jeremiah Holloman, 6'3", 195, Covington, Georgia, was at USC today with several teammates and was offered. He's a former Michigan commitment. Lots of offers: Georgia, Tennessee, Georgia Tech, Indiana, Maryland, Mississippi State, Nebraska, Ole Miss, Virginia, West Virginia. USC now in his lead group along with Tennessee, Ole Miss, Georgia, and Alabama. The group went from USC to Georgia for a visit there. He also plans to go to Tennessee and Ole Miss soon. Decision around signing day. Also on the visit was defensive back Stephen Montag, who's at Coffeyville Junior College in Kansas, but he is from Covington, Georgia, and came in with his teammates. He was not offered. Gamecocks want to see him work out one-on-one. He says that is something that Travaris Robinson likes to see from his corners before he offers them. And so he plans to do that. Maybe this week. He might come back this week, or it might be later. He's also looking at going to LSU this weekend. Also in the group, linebacker Jaquan Henderson. He did not get an offer on the visit because they want him to get his weight up to about 210 pounds. He weighs 198 right now. He has Virginia, Tennessee, LSU, North Carolina, and Nebraska as his top group, and he said each has offered. Also visiting from Newton were defensive back Robert Black, defensive lineman Deion Watson, and athlete Deonta Clark. USC's interested in each, has not offered any, and they have some mid-major offers right now. Athlete Jawan Burgess is out of the Tampa area, one of those speedsters from Tampa that Clemson has honed in on in recent years, and Tigers are heavily involved here. Once again, USC is also an offer and is under consideration. He said he is still considering all the schools that have offered him at this point and has not shortened his list. Auburn, Florida, Alabama, Kentucky, North Carolina, Miami, Georgia, Florida State, Tennessee, UCLA, Virginia Tech, some of the other offers. He has about 20. He's heard from Clemson. The coaches want him to come in for a visit. He's also been hearing from USC as well. Clemson, Miami, Florida, and Kentucky making the strongest push. Offensive lineman Victor Beach, 6'5", 290 out of Fort Myers, Florida. He has a USC offer. He's coming in for the junior day on Saturday and to watch spring practice. Hears regularly from Will Muschamp and offensive line coach Sean Elliott. He has offers as well from Marshall, Central Florida, and Central Michigan. Plus, he has interest from Purdue, South Florida, NC State, FAU, and Georgia Southern. He's been to Indiana and South Florida. He's going to NC State March 25th and to Purdue and Marshall in April. He said that South Carolina is his top school, but he likes Indiana as well, got a lot of family in Indiana. He doesn't plan to make a decision until August. All right, we've got more in recruiting coming up for you after the break, including another possible basketball transfer possibility for Clemson. Tell you about that when we come back.
Live from Columbia, this is Sports Talk on the South Carolina Radio Network. Be a part of tonight's show. Call us at 800-956-7266 or email talkback@sportstalksc.com. Now, here are your hosts for Sports Talk, Phil Corn, Kevin McCrary, and Tom Hayes.
And let's go right to NCAA Women's Basketball Tournament Central and Kevin McCrary.
The USC women are a #1 national seed, folks, for the second straight year. The Gamecocks are #2 overall national seed behind.
How could that committee get it so right? The women's committee knows what they're doing.
Well, because in these top 4 seeds, they only have 3 losses. UConn is
And there's
no
really,
losses.
let's face it, there's only about, 6 good teams in women's basketball?
But
right
I'd
down
say
to it.
7, 8.
So,
But there is such a gap between the top couple of them.
Yeah.
That's, You watch these women's tournament games, and you'll see 50-point blowouts here in the first couple of rounds.
Did they show the USC women? Did they jumper? I like the way Kentucky handled it yesterday after they won the championship. I don't think they even gave a high five. It was like, game over. Let's cut down the nets and move on.
You know why?
That was 28 of them.
You know why?
Because they always win.
Because A&M wore them out. I mean, those clowns were playing.
But there is some controversy here.
Ooh,
the Gamecocks still got a little bit of a bad rap.
How's that?
They are the #1 seed in the Sioux Falls regional, so they will have to go to Sioux Falls. Do you know where Sioux Falls is, Corn?
It's in one of the.
He's trying to envision.
Yeah.
It's in one of the Dakotas.
Sioux Falls, South Dakota.
You sure it's not north?
I think it's.
Where's
North
Bismarck?
Dakota.
Which one is Bismarck in?
That's north.
You sure?
Positive.
Okay.
You know where Fargo is?
One of the Dakotas.
So Kentucky,
Dakota.
a lower seed, they will likely get to play 4 games in their hometown. The Gamecocks will not.
Ooh.
So that's kind of
That's kind of weird. All right, let me finish
and
up
they took
recruiting.
down the flag and everything.
They did all that, and the NCAA showing no love.
But they wanted that in case South Carolina men's team advanced in the NIT.
Yeah. All right, finishing up recruiting. Defensive end Josiah Coatney of Holmes Junior College in Mississippi was at USC Friday. Kind of a surprise visit. He's coming back for an official visit this weekend. So he liked everything, facilities, coaches, campus. He's going to Ole Miss April 1st and Florida April 8th. Decision date pushed back to the first week in May. Athlete Nancy Richardson of South Aiken committed Sunday to Southern Miss. USC quarterback target Braxton Burmeister, La Jolla, California, decommitted from Arizona over the weekend. Had been committed since January. Utah and Washington are 2 others he's been strongly considering. Receiver James Robinson of Lakeland, Florida, is on the Florida campus right now, according to one of the websites down there. He's a big Clemson target. And in basketball, Clemson reportedly to land 6'8" Robert Morris transfer Elijah Minnie, his former teammate, Clemson guard Marquise Reed. He also has an offer from Nevada. Minnie was dismissed from Robert Morris's team in February, was averaging 12 points and about 7 rebounds per game. He reportedly was disciplined several times during his time at Robert Morris. But Clemson apparently is interested in trying to bring him in. And we'll be back with Frank Martin coming up. All right, so the USC women get one of the coveted #1 seeds for the NCAA women's tournament. They'll be hosting first 2 games in Columbia. Do we know who they're playing yet?
No, they haven't shown that.
Still waiting for that.
packet
Okay.
yet.
Hey, whether you're part of the USC Women's Nation or Gamecock Nation, or you bleed Clemson orange, one thing we can all agree on: Founders Federal Credit Union, with a convenient location already at the Russell House at USC and a new location on Highway 93 in Clemson coming soon. And we've all been on Highway 93 in Clemson. Founders is a sure fan favorite. Visit RelaxJoinFounders.com to see if you qualify for membership. Founders Federal Credit Union is federally insured by NCUA. Back to basketball. I'm sure Frank Martin got very little sleep last night. The sting of being snubbed by the NCAA committee when he thought his team was in, that's tough. In year 4 and gradually building the program, they have gotten better each and every year, which is what you wanted to see. And they were hoping to skip that NIT and get right to the NCAA in year 4. Not going to happen. NIT, High Point tomorrow night. But first, Martin reflects a little bit on yesterday and, of course, talks about tomorrow night's opponent.
High Point, regular season conference champion. I'm on the understanding that 2 of their better players are not going to play in the game because of injuries. John Brown, and I believe the other young man's name is Weary, who got hurt in the conference tournament. That's my understanding, but they've got the DNA of a championship team, and you don't win a conference championship if you don't have the right fabric. And obviously they did that. So it's, excuse me, we're still studying them. We're not in the clear yet. We tried to study them last night, and I just was upstairs studying them some more and trying to figure them out with and without those 2 guys, because those 2 guys are such dominant scorers on their team that we're trying to figure that part out.
Frank, just after meeting with the guys last night and maybe this morning for practice or whatever, just how's the mentality of the team? Are they, have they shoved everything aside and ready to go for this?
I'll be honest with you, the old guys were hurt, but they're also excited about playing. That's how the night progressed. That's what I thought was going to happen. The younger guys, I don't think they understood. I'm not saying understood in a bad way or a good way. I just don't think they're so young and naive that all this is brand new to them, that I don't think they comprehend the opportunity that just slipped out of our hands yet. It's but the older guys, they were scarred. They were emotionally, they were not happy. But as the night progressed in my conversations with them, Mike, August, those guys, Dwayne, they're competitors, and as a competitor, you just want a chance to play again. Competitors don't want to sit on couches. They want to play again, and they're going to be given that opportunity. And I think as the night went on, they started getting excited about that.
You talked about the team, but on the coaching staff end and you're in, how quickly did you flush it and just get focused on High Point?
Yeah, right away. I'm still not over it, but I can't let the players know that. It's if I walk around them and hold my head down and whine and pout, then what do I expect the 20-year-olds to do? They're going to do the same thing, and that's okay. It's a great lesson for all of us to learn. We got left out of the NCAA tournament. It should hurt because we invested a lot. But, there's going to be other things that are going to happen in life that's going to hurt a lot than not going to an NCAA tournament. You don't get to stop living life. You still have to wake up and go do your job and manage things and lead people and guide and be a parent and all the things that come with the real game, which is being able to live. And so this is a great tool for all of us to learn from and to better prepare these young guys, as they keep moving forward in life.
Coach, I know most of the season you guys probably entered it with a big chip on your shoulder to prove that this program was going in the right direction. Is there extra motivation considering what just transpired yesterday when you guys thought you should have been in the field of 68 going in this NIT?
No, I mean, I can't speak for the players. We're all united, but we're all also individual people. Everyone says, Frank, because of my background and you've probably been trying to prove people wrong your whole life. I could care less what people think. I'm constantly trying to prove the people that believe in me right. That's what drives me. And when I don't think we've released this yet, but I'm pretty sure we set a school record for season attendance. When you set a school record for season attendance, when Harris Pastides and Eric Hyman before Ray Tanner, when the Board of Trustees, when all the folks that were behind hiring myself and our staff here, them folks believed in us. When people believe in you, you do your job for them. You don't do the job to prove people that don't believe in you wrong. And if you live in that place, more power to you. I can't deal with negativity. I ignore it. I don't want anything to do with it. On the contrary, I want to be around the people that think that I'm worth something. Those are the ones that I live and sacrifice, and I'm willing to dive in front of a bus for. I'm excited for where our program's at. I'm disappointed for yesterday. I'm disappointed, like I said last night, for our players and our fans. But I'm excited for where we're at. And I'm excited for the kids in the program. I'm excited that we set a school record in attendance. I'm excited for a lot of things. We get a chance to play at home again. And, it's not too many teams get to say they're still playing. When you consider there's 352 and 90 of them or so get to say we're still playing, it's by invitation, not like last year. We had a chance to buy our way into playing and we weren't going to do that. By invitation to say that we're one of, 30% of the schools or whatever. My math is even less than 30, but 30% would be 270. 20% of the schools that play college basketball get to be invited to continue playing. We're kind of lucky that we're in that group. We weren't there 4 years ago. We weren't there 3 years ago. We were in there 2 years ago or last year. We are now. So it's another step in the right direction.
As a longtime college basketball person and somebody who has been selected for the tournament, the events of yesterday, does it affect your opinion about the process? Does it shake your confidence in the way the NCAA handles the very important procedure of selecting the at-large teams?
Yeah, if I knew the process, then I can have an opinion on it. It's moving parts. No one knows. 1 year it's strength of schedule. 1 year it's RPI. Now it's BPI. Then it's CCI and DDI and OPI and whatever other I they want to come up with. I don't. They say, well, you have to win away from home. Well, we won 9 games away from home. Well, I don't know. We beat our conference champion on the road. We 4 games over 500 in a BCS level league. It's there are conferences that if you go by all this ranking nonsense, which to me all those numbers are irrelevant. There's ways to trick the computer to make it look good. There are conferences that were ranked below ours that got more teams into the NCAA tournament.
Okay, Frank Martin, and more of Frank on the website, sportstalksc.com. But, we didn't want to spend too much time on the NIT and High Point. The subject matter is still mostly
There is no I in NCAA tournament.
That's correct. Yes. You can tell he's still stung by what happened yesterday. Back we are. Sports Talk presented by South Carolina's 529 College Savings Plan. Future Scholar, the smart way to save for a loved one's education, and tax time is a perfect time to invest. Visit futurescholar.com. Future Scholar, administered by the Office of State Treasurer Curtis Loftus. We still don't know the opponents for USC women.
No.
At this point,
But
no way.
go ahead and book your ticket to Sioux Falls, Gamecock Nation. That's where you can watch.
Could be warming up in the 50s by that time.
Sioux Falls, South Dakota.
Mm-hmm.
Very nice. Very nice. To Tiger Bryan in Lancaster, let me save you the trouble. We're doing fine, feeling good. Hope you are too.
Man, I am. I tell you what, man. I'm astounded. You know, I love this time of year when you do my fruit. You know, you do a great job. But hey, I feel just Tiger Bryan now. You record this one.
Oh, hang on. Make sure we're rolling on Tiger Bryan here. I'm just kidding. Go ahead.
You got
Production crew was scrambling in the background there.
Yeah.
I woke him up.
Hey, but I tell you what, I feel for the Gamecock baseball team. Hey, you lose 8 games all year, you ought to be in dance in the SEC. You know what?
Yeah,
I mean,
they ought to be. They ought to be in the
Clemson.
big dance instead of in the square dance.
I ain't lying. Well, I mean, in Clemson, we didn't. You know, we had that spurt. We didn't do what we need to do. We quit on, and they look like maybe they quit on Coach B now. I don't know. But you got 18-point lead, 8 minutes to go, 9 minutes to go. You're supposed to be able to win by 2 or 3 now for them.
Yeah. Hey, listen, Clemson has no one to blame but itself. The state of Georgia did it to the state of South Carolina in the tournaments last week. Yep. Georgia Tech and then Georgia.
But you know,
Go figure.
I'll tell you what, Corn, though, I think both football teams will have a pretty good year this year. I think South Carolina, they'll go to a bowl. I'm predicting they'll go to a bowl. They'll win 6, maybe 7 games.
Tiger Bryan. What have you already started to hit the bottom
I'm
of
predicting this now, because you know what? He's making everybody earn their spot on their team, and that's the way it ought to be. You know what I mean? You come up with 5 stars.
But do you like the talent on their team? That's the thing. Do they have the talent?
I don't like the talent. I'm just saying. I think they'll stick up on a couple. You know, they'll stick on. They'll win 6. We'll win. We're going all the way, baby.
All the way.
15-0. Are you going 15-0?
We're going to the
first ever.
Tampa, baby.
The Natty.
I think you're going to be. Listen,
are you going to BYOG right though? That's the big question. Are you going to BYOG when you go to the Natty? No, now we have to pay Dabo for that. Dabo checks in there.
I think Dabo will come up with a brand new acronym at the right time after a big game, after they beat Florida State on the road down there, and he's being interviewed by one of the ESPN reporterettes. He'll come up with another.
They go by reporters, Corn.
Yeah. One of the reporterettes. He'll come up with another one. the USC women now know the makeup of their makeup. I'm sorry, the makeup of the regional that they're in. That did they put makeup on before they go out?
No.
I mean, they can get makeup. They can put makeup. Yeah, Carson's back there nodding her head. She knows. Texas A&M does put makeup on.
That's why
players. Oh, really?
That's why they missed those free throws down the stretch. It was sweating into their eyes.
They would have special. That'd be a good market to like sports makeup.
Let's go to
now. Let's
women's basketball tournament.
How sexist
Central.
Corn can get here in the next 30
I just
seconds.
asked a question.
Say,
you want to attract the male audience. Anyway, let's go to Tournament Central. K-Mac, what's the latest?
I'm the Tournament Central guy. South Carolina's playing Jacksonville, 7:30 Friday night, and we're in a little bit of a pickle here because you're at the Carolina All-Stars Classic this weekend. So Friday, I can only be in one place.
There's only one of you?
There's only one of me. I know that really upsets a lot of people out there.
Clonage
There's a lot of people that wish there was more than one of me. I say that with the utmost amount of sincerity.
Let's deputize Carson to cover the women for us.
She's going to be at the women on. Are you going to be at the women's game? She's going to be there on Sunday.
Okay. We'll figure it out.
Yeah, we're going to have to figure that out. Right?
What time are they playing Friday?
7:30, same time as the baseball team against Arkansas.
SEC opener.
SEC opener
That's
over
tough,
there.
That's so tough.
See, if we were
Two
television,
sports
we
teams
could just
might
go over there and shoot 5 minutes of the women's game.
Right, because it'll be over in the first 5 minutes.
Head on over.
I
predict the USC women will advance past Jackson.
Why would you
bold prediction there, Cotton?
Call me the Joe Lunardi of the women
Wouldn't
brackets.
it be easy for them to flip-flop the game?
Joyce brackets.
Have South Carolina play in the late game.
What you mean? Well, you mean on Friday?
Yeah.
Well, I'm sure ESPN wants them at 7.
Yeah,
o'clock.
that's why you're not going to.
Who are the other two teams?
Sometimes they let you pick. And
Who are the
baseball,
other-
they let
who are
you
the
pick
other-
if you want to do the earlier late game.
Who are the other two teams?
I don't have it in front of me.
It was George Washington and Kansas State, right?
Yes.
Is that right?
I think it was,
Let's
Kansas
see how
State
much
is
the
correct.
tickets are, though. This is what I always like to check out here. Let's go here.
While you do that, let's jump to the phones again.
Take a phone call.
JC in Myrtle Beach. Okay. Welcome in, JC. How are you?
I'm doing well, guys. How are y'all?
Good so far.
Listen, I say this as a dual alumnus from the University of South Carolina, but I think anybody who complains about being left out, we had the easiest SEC schedule since expansion, and we had two teams in SMU and Louisville that would have been in that weren't. And when you lose to Missouri and you lose to Mississippi State, and you can't beat Georgia once out of 3 chances, especially on senior night, the way South Carolina played at the end of the season, to me, doesn't warrant them being in the tournament. And I say that as somebody who the last time South Carolina made the tournament, I was a freshman at USC. And so, from my perspective, instead of listening to the coaching staff gripe about, the way the tournament selection committee, picks the 68 teams, the fact of the matter is, had we beaten Missouri and Mississippi State, two of the worst teams in the conference, we wouldn't be having this discussion. We'd have been 26.
Well, you think Syracuse belongs in there and they lost 5 out of the last 6?
I don't think Syracuse belongs in there, but the problem is that instead of saying it's the selection committee's fault, how about you beat the worst team in the conference?
Here's the
How about you beat one of the second worst teams in
here's the
conference?
problem with what you say, because at some point you have to make an entry into postseason play. South Carolina's, none of their players have ever been in this situation, and they met up with some things they couldn't deal with, like suddenly becoming the hunted instead of the hunter. That's something you have to adjust to. Somebody has to let you in the first time. Everybody has warts. The SEC as a conference is undervalued. As Coach Martin said, how in the world the conferences rated below us get more teams in? I keep telling you, if it's not a conspiracy, it smells like one. You guys make too much money on football. You guys make too much money on the SEC network. We're going to penalize you by making sure that when your name is called, an SEC team, we're going to figure out a way to leave you out rather than include you.
I do not disagree with that.
Yeah, I mean, it's easy to say, well, you should have won more games. That's the very obvious statement. You should have won more games. They should have beat Missouri or Mississippi State. Or they needed one more win. But when they beat Arkansas on the road, I thought they were in. Without their best player. And they lost by 1 to Georgia in the quarterfinals of the SEC tournament, a game that could have gone either way. And they take them out of they went from a projected lock to being out of the whole thing, and the teams that they put in over them. If it would have been Monmouth or Valpo, okay, but not Tulsa. Tulsa got hammered by Memphis twice. They lost to Oral Roberts, and they lost to South Carolina. Those are all teams South Carolina beat. So it does not hold water.
All right, thanks for your phone call. 800-956-7266. Next, we go to Greg in Fort Mill. All right, Greg, how are you? Welcome into Sports Talk.
Hey, how's it going, guys? I don't know if this last caller is an alumnus. I can tell you I'm an alumnus, and I'm ticked off. I'm upset, not so much the process. I don't know how Syracuse and Tulsa. Look, Jim Boeheim has had a Hall of Fame career, but his program with these NCAA infractions, or whatever you want to call them, he missed 9 games. So now the NCAA is going to punish him for 9 games, but then the NCAA is going to give him a carrot and say, well, it's all fluid, so we're going to let you back in. But you punish him for 9 games.
I don't disagree.
And,
I don't disagree. I have no proof, but I don't disagree.
And Frank Hayes, I don't know how he has a job after putting Miami in peril and then Missouri in peril.
I'll just say this about that situation. I'll just say this. This is where, and it's a shame now that we're not creating I'm creating the Syracuse conspiracy theory about television and the New York market and Jim Boeheim Hall of Fame and blue blood basketball. But the committee chairman is the AD at Oklahoma, who has a connection with the AD at Tulsa. I think I read where he hired that AD either at Oklahoma before that person went to Tulsa. There's some connection between the two. So if you want to, if you want to draw a conclusion, false or otherwise, that there's something underhanded, under the table, wink, wink going on to help Tulsa get into the tournament, there you go. You still with me?
Left them speechless.
I guess that answered it.
Call another shot.
But it's a shame that you have to feel that way. But there's too many questions and too many people above me with much more knowledge. And look, Joe Lunardi, he was incensed last night. Did you read his stuff last night? He was absolutely. And Joe Lunardi looks like an easygoing, nice guy who just is a.
You don't make his bracket bust. He likes being accurate on those things.
Right. And I mean, the Tulsa thing really set him off. He said under no criteria, circumstances should Tulsa have been included in the tournament. There was not a single, like he likes to say, when he misses on one, he can often see the other side and understand why this school got in when he said it wasn't, or that school didn't get in when he said it was. He said under no circumstances could the committee justify putting Tulsa in the field. Zero. And does that mean South Carolina should have gone in, or Monmouth or Valpo or one of the others that were hanging on the bubble? I don't know. Seems like South Carolina had as good an argument as any of those that were on the bubble to get in. You're talking about, again, 24 wins, 23 Division I. The thing that really, and I know they had their warts, and as the other caller pointed out, they lost to Missouri, the worst team in the league. They lost 3 times to Georgia. They lost a game to Alabama. They lost a game to Mississippi State. But they did beat Texas A&M on the road. They did go undefeated against their non-conference opponents. They did win 9 games away from their own arena.
Well, you look at the conference itself. Alabama ended up being the 10th team out of the 14-team league. I think, 8 and 10 or whatever. That Alabama team on a neutral court beat Wichita State. That Alabama team, 10th in the SEC, beat Notre Dame on a neutral court.
I know one thing from talking to Ray Tanner yesterday off to the side. As an athletic director, he was not happy with the way the SEC as a league was handled. And he knows this spring with Greg Sankey, the commissioner, that the subject of basketball is going to be addressed quite a bit. All right, coming up in a moment, we'll hear from a couple of the USC players who met with the media today, Sindarius Thornwell and Lemonis Kafashis. A few more recruiting notes that I've picked up here over the last few minutes. USC today offered 2018 receiver cornerback Matthew Deshaun Hill, Snellville, Georgia. Mercer offered Lawrence offensive lineman Summy Carley, receiver Austin Connor of Dutch Fork offered by Yale. Clemson receiver target James Robinson of Lakeland, Florida, visiting Florida today. I think I mentioned that. Athlete Elijah Hicks of La Mirada, California, offered by USC today. Some other offers: Arizona, Arizona State, Cal, Colorado, UCLA, and Washington State. Former Clemson guard Patrick Rooks to visit the Florida International coming up in April. Always check out our recruiting info on our website, sportstalksc.com. Check out the recruiting notebook. Use hashtag STRecruiting on Twitter to take you to all of our information. Okay, after Frank Martin talked with the media, they brought over Sindarius Thornwell and Lemonis Kafashis. Now, the players, remember, the team was not present at the viewing party yesterday. They got word before the party that this might not go well. So they didn't want to subject the players to being out in the open with the disappointment of not making the tournament. So they met with the media today, those two. And are we beginning with the question or the answer? Do we know this? I don't want to. You don't know? Okay, just play it from the beginning. We'll start with the question from the media.
For both of you, if you could answer, just what was the feeling immediately after the announcement last night? How are you guys mentally going into this NIT?
Well, we always disappointed when we didn't see our name up. But, I mean, as far as, like, being ready for the NIT, you know, we approach it as we can win it, still got a chance to win a championship. It's still an opportunity. None of us here has been in the postseason, so with us being in NIT, it's still an opportunity for us to all get a chance to play in postseason, and it's a step forward to the NCAA tournament.
You kind of just said it, but Sam, is that a big thing to you, just the fact of getting to play in a postseason tournament because you've been building towards this moment?
Yeah, I mean, the ultimate goal was to make the tournament, but I guess we'll settle for the NIT for this year. And yeah, I mean, it's still an opportunity to win the championship, to go out and win something. None of us never played in the postseason, so for us to get an opportunity, it's great. You know, it's a lot of teams that doesn't get an opportunity, that don't get an opportunity to play in NIT. So we're going to take full advantage of it.
Same question, Lima. How much does it mean to you to be in the postseason?
It means a lot. I never had a chance as a four-year guy to play in postseason, so I'm just glad we still have a chance to come out and play another game and do whatever we can do to advance another one.
Frank mentioned that a lot of the older guys were heartbroken when they didn't see the name up there. What were the younger guys like, and how did the older guys, you guys, the seniors and the juniors, help with kind of, I don't know, shaping their minds and making sure they were okay?
Well, the younger guys was hurt for the seniors, most importantly, because they don't get another go around. And as juniors, we only got one more shot. You know, those freshmen, they still got 3 more years to make it. But they was hurt for us older guys, and us older guys, looked at it as an opportunity. We still got a chance to play, and so we got the freshmen together and got together, and looked at it as an opportunity to win the championship in NIT.
For Lemonis, knowing this is your last year, how bitter of a moment was it for you last night, not seeing that name coming up on the board when it seemed you guys were going to get one of those final spots in the big dance?
It was hurtful, disappointing, but it was during the season, it was in our hands, but last night it wasn't at all. We were just hoping for the best, and then it didn't happen, and it is what it is. We got to give our heads up and then come out in NIT and do our best.
Do you think what?
Okay, we're back from the press conference there with the players earlier, and there's more of that on our website as well, sportstalksc.com. And yeah, you feel for those 3 seniors, and you throw Brian Steele in there as well, because Carrera and Kaishanis and Hakafashis, Those are the guys that helped get this thing started with Frank Martin. They came in with Frank Martin. They're the survivors. You know, he's had a lot of people come and go over his 4 years. These three stuck it out and got better. That's the thing that you like in a program. Do the players improve from day one to day last? And I think each of those three guys definitely got better throughout their careers. And it culminated as seniors with the three of them playing the best basketball of their careers. That's why the Gamecocks won 24 games this year. They had guys who were having the best careers of the best seasons of their careers all at the same time. And that's how you take it up a couple of notches. Back to wrap it up in a moment. All right, back with you here on Sports Talk. Final couple of minutes tonight. And I want to remind you that insects and diseases, they can be moved hundreds of miles in firewood and threaten our forests, favorite campsites, neighborhoods, state, and national parks. Help protect the trees you love by purchasing firewood at or near where you burn it. For more information, visit don'tmovefirewood.org. All right, let's see. What did I want to mention to you here? I think we've there's a few news notes I wanted to get to that we haven't gotten to. First of all, in baseball, Seth Beer from Clemson, one of 7 National Players of the Week by Collegiate Baseball today, had a great week. 4 homers, a double, 10 RBIs. Not bad. He's batting .404 this year with 7 homers and 20 RBIs. The new baseball polls for the week. And in Baseball America, Florida is 1, followed by Texas A&M, Oregon State, Louisville, and Vanderbilt. Then it's Miami, LSU, TCU, California, and Virginia. And the Baseball America has the College of Charleston, which is 11-4, ranked 23rd. Collegiate baseball has Florida 1, followed by Vandy, A&M, Louisville, and Miami. They have Clemson at 19 and USC at 20, and no College of Charleston. They have Boston College at 22. Boston College will play at Clemson this weekend, and USC's opponent, Arkansas, is ranked 17th. by collegiate baseball. Okay, one more ranking for you. The coaches, they rank Florida 1, then Vandy, A&M, Louisville, and Oregon State. They've got USC at number 12. Gamecocks have an impressive record at 15-2, but they're 1-2 against the only really good team they've faced this year. They have Clemson at number 21. Point is, Gamecocks still have something to prove, and Clemson has proved some things. They beat the Gamecocks 2 out of 3. They beat Wake Forest 2 out of 3 to open up ACC play. So good start for Monty Lee. Former Clemson star receiver Martavis Bryant of the Steelers suspended for a minimum of 1 year for violating the league's substance abuse policy, the NFL announced, and he is not going to appeal. His suspension begins immediately. So more problems for him. I think it was reported previously when he was suspended, he had some alcohol issues going on, and he went through treatment and all that. I think the hope was that he had beaten that, but apparently more issues from that standpoint. USC pitcher Adam Hill named the SEC Freshman of the Week. Wofford right-hander Matt Milburn is the Southern Conference Pitcher of the Week. And I think we've covered everything. So I want to thank Barry Larkin, Belton Honeypath, and also Carson Palmer Mason. That's it. Carson Palmer, Perry Mason, for doing a great job behind the scenes. And we'll see you tomorrow night.